Oh, hi. My name is Heidi and I want barbecue. I want to talk about the science of barbecue. Welcome to Sizzle and Science. In one form or another, barbecue has probably been around since people were able to control fire. Humans likely figured out very early on that meat cooked over an open flame is, well, let's face it, wildly delicious. In this video, I want to explore this tasty cooking method and give you some safety tips as well. Fair warning, vegetarians and vegans, although I will talk about fruit and vegetables, this is primarily about the science of cooking meat. Humans are hardwired to get pleasure out of complex aromatic foods, and barbecue delivers big time. Let's focus on 3 reasons for that: the cooking, the seasoning, and the smoke. Let's start with cooking. The reason meat can be tough or tender is that it's primarily made of muscle. Muscle is almost exclusively protein and water. When it's raw, it's a set of microscopic, tightly bundled strands, holding on to quite a bit of moisture. Some muscles work less hard than others. For example, meat near the spine of a cow doesn't get nearly as much of a workout as the shoulder, so it's going to be softer with a less dense network of strands. When we heat that protein up, it unwinds and loosens, and the meat usually becomes more tender, to a point. Too much heat for too long a time can lead to a denaturation of the protein, or a further breakdown of the strands, and a loss of moisture and fat, which can lead to toughness and dryness. So part of the art of barbecuing is figuring out the best method of cooking. In the case of a tough cut of meat, the heat can soften the connective tissue, a different type of protein, like the collagen and ligaments. This takes a long time, so to compensate for a potential loss of moisture and toughening of the muscle protein, it's cooked at a lower temperature, under cover, with indirect heat, and often water is added. That low, slow, moist, covered cooking on a grill is what chefs call barbecue. What chefs call grilling is different, believe it or not. Grilling is usually done quickly over direct heat, so there's less moisture loss. Because the meat is usually more tender in the first place, it doesn't need the extra cooking time to loosen up the muscle strands. So low and slow barbecue is great for cooking larger cuts of meat, like a whole chicken or a rump roast. And grilling is great for quickly cooking smaller portions of meat, like a chicken leg or a sirloin steak. The cooking also leads to something called the Maillard reaction, named after the French scientist who discovered it. It's a complex, multi-stage reaction when heat changes amino acids and sugars, turning them a caramel brown and releasing all sorts of great-smelling aromatic compounds and savory flavors. This definitely happens in barbecue. Muscle protein is a rich source of amino acids, but we see this reaction in lots of other cooking, including baking. It's the reason for a rich golden pie crust, for instance. Since meat is lower in natural sugars, to boost the reaction in barbecue, we often add sugars in the form of rubs or sauces. Of course, meat isn't the only thing that can be grilled. Many fruits like pineapple and peaches, rich in sugar and moistness, are incredibly delicious grilled because of that almost magical Maillard reaction. Not only that, but seasoning is huge in barbecue. A lot of it is personal taste, but science plays a part too. Spices have a lot of volatile organic compounds, molecules that easily react to air, water, or fat. And along with the Maillard reaction, they can infuse barbecue with a complicated combination of scents. Something like vegetables, although they get tastier through the Maillard reaction, are still a bit bland, so adding a favorite herb and spice blend can jazz them up quite a bit. If you grill with charcoal or wood chips, the smoke created carries a lot of volatile organic compounds from the wood. That smoke infuses into the cooked meat, and we taste the delectable, complex results. However, fatty meat can also cause smoke, which happens when melting fat drips into the flames, and this is where I start talking about barbecue safety. That kind of smoke, which happens most often when you grill, contains molecules that you definitely don't want to ingest. Burning food creates compounds called heterocyclic amines, or HCAs, in the meat itself, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs, in the smoke. These compounds are linked to a higher risk of certain types of cancer. The longer and higher the heat, the worse the effects. The good news is, it's not too hard to reduce the levels of those chemicals by cooking more gently and, even tastier, by marinating. It's a little unclear why it works, but studies have shown that soaking your meat in an acidic marinade ahead of cooking and seasoning it with certain ingredients like rosemary, onions, or garlic seems to help. If you do end up with some charring, cutting off the black bits before serving also reduces the risks. Another safety consideration is fire and heat safety. So make sure that you have access to a working fire extinguisher, oven mitts, and long-handled utensils to keep your hands away from the heat. Proper food handling is also something to keep in mind. Raw or undercooked meat, especially when left unrefrigerated and or uncovered, can lead to harmful levels of food poisoning bacteria. Those bacteria can be transferred easily to other surfaces and other foods if you share utensils and things like plates and trays. Or use the same germ-laden trays when carrying the raw meat to the grill and then off the grill and to the table. So use separate plates or trays for that task, and make sure you store meat at the proper temperatures and cook to the recommended internal temperatures, which can vary depending on the type and size of your portion. Investing in an instant read probe thermometer like this one is a great idea. And don't let your leftovers sit out at room temperature. Put them in the fridge pronto. I hope this has you fired up for some new cooking adventures and experiments. And please post your results on our social media platforms, especially if you have a great recipe for barbecue sauce or a rub. I'd really love to try it. In the meantime, whether it's meat, vegetables, or fruit, happy grilling and bon appétit!